The Vukani Environmental Justice Movement in Action and GroundWork are accusing Eskom of bypassing pollution rules. This is in connection with the Kusile power station that needs a temporary fix to deal with load shedding. Joining us is Rico, Euripidou, who is an environmental health campaigner with GroundWork. Thank you for making time for us, Rico. Let's start with the background. There was a decision that the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Barbara Creecy, took to help Eskom with this program. What are you unhappy about regarding that decision the Minister has made, and why do you want it to be appealed?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. That's a really good question, and that is the crux of why we are appealing this. We don't disagree, and we share the country's concerns around the impacts of load shedding. And we will work constructively with the Minister in any way possible to alleviate that burden on the country. But on the same token, to expect that people should literally give up their lives because of this commitment to an outdated model of generating electricity, we think is totally unfair and unjust for the communities that will bear the burden of air pollution. Let's be absolutely clear. The Kusile power station has been almost a failure since the start of construction. It is running totally over budget. It is over time. It is unreliable. And it is because of coal-fired electricity generation that we have this load shedding problem. So we should be looking beyond coal. We should be looking into the future and envisaging a future that gives us a reliable and stable electricity that is just to people, that doesn't produce air pollution, that doesn't contribute significantly to climate change, which is what our coal-fired power stations does. We are among the top 20 climate-intensive emitters in the world, and we have to look beyond that. Otherwise, we will become irrelevant in the world economy because of the intensity of our economy, the carbon intensity of our economy. We have to decarbonize. We have to look beyond coal.
From your assessment, what are the health consequences of this decision on the people that are living around the area?
Again, that is a really, really good question. And the answer to that hasn't been answered by the Minister, nor the Ministry, nor in partnership with the National Department of Health. Globally, air pollution contributes between 7 and 9 million deaths. That is 3 times more deaths than the people who die of HIV/AIDS, malaria, and TB all combined. So air pollution is this big silent pandemic. Imagine every single year, 9 million people will die because of air pollution. In South Africa, the estimate is anywhere between 20,000 and 30,000 people who are dying from air pollution. And that is what we have to do. We have to do a cost and a benefit analysis to understand what is the health impact of choosing to give Eskom an exemption, and what is the cost impact. Now, the epidemiology around air pollution is very well understood. For the last 30 years, there have been amazing studies on air pollution. And because of that, we can quantify quite easily what is the health and the economic impact of air pollution. Mm-hmm. And the modeling is accepted by everybody. It's endorsed by the World Health Organization, by the World Bank, by the European Commission. So there's no disputing the modeling. And the modeling that we've done, we've been assisted by these expert modelers, show us that if this exemption is granted by the Minister to Eskom, there will be at least 600 to 700 deaths in this period between now and December 2024. Is that fair? Can we really expect people to sacrifice their lives? And along with that, comes a health cost. And the health cost that we've estimated runs into the billions. So these are the better questions, and the better approach that we have to do is to do the cost and the benefit analysis of granting this exemption, understanding and knowing full well that people's health will be at stake. And we're not just talking about people in the Highveld. Air pollution has no boundaries. The air pollution from the Highveld will travel to Gauteng. It will affect people's health in Johannesburg, in Ekurhuleni, in Pretoria, and that comes with a massive cost. Okay. And unless we quantify that cost, and we are absolutely honest with ourselves about the cost and the benefit, only then should we make that decision. We don't think there's been enough transparency. We don't think that that Eskom are being truthful in the real cost of this. And that's what we want. Okay. We want more honesty and more transparency in this equation.
How do you strike the balance, though, Rico? We have an energy crisis, as you hold on. We have an energy crisis, as you have outlined. This is part of trying to address this crisis that continues to destroy the economy and cause jobs. And my understanding is that this project will enable, in fact, the return of the 2,100 megawatts, which will further then alleviate the pressure on the power system and reduce load shedding by 2 stages. So how do you think we can balance the two? Because what's the point of us rushing through renewables when, in fact, we can have both complement each other at this moment to respond to the energy crisis that we have?
And that is the crux of the matter. This fixation on being wedded to addressing failing power stations is what is hampering our rollout of renewables. Vietnam, last year, an economy that is similar to South Africa with a similar economic development status, they added 10 gigawatts to the grid through rooftop solar. How did they do it, and why did they do it? One, there was political commitment. There was political responsibility. It was decentralized. The provinces knew that they had to have at least 30% coverage on all public buildings, on schools, on hospitals. They gave the industry a mandate that they had to also roll out. They made it happen. China, in the same period, added 55 gigawatts, 15% more than the entire South Africa energy grid in 1 year. They did this. And let's be honest about Kusile. In the last 15 months leading up to this application, Kusile was only operating at about 40% of its output. And again, we are saying Eskom must be honest with us. They must be honest with us and tell us the truth. Now, I think it will be, because the problems with Eskom are systemic. These are systemic problems.
The reality, though, Rico, is that the governments that you're mentioning have actually been good with planning. Our government has not been good with planning. In fact, we don't have the amount of renewable energy we should have had as per our energy master plan, the IRP. And the reality is we haven't amassed enough renewables for us to solely rely on them. Let's take Komati Power Station, for instance, which was decommissioned. I think the last unit was decommissioned last year. In total, we had about 1,000 megawatts that were now taken out, replaced by wind and solar, which guarantees you about 170 to 200 megawatts. That's nothing compared to what that power station was able to produce. So how is that helping in resolving the energy crisis? Because absolutely we've got to move faster with renewables, but what's the point of us moving that fast enough when we don't have enough, in fact, to really hold us in this moment? Do you not think you need the two to complement each other, given that this government has failed to bring on board as sufficient renewables as possible? And then at a later stage, when we have amassed enough renewables to even act as our base load, then we can have a conversation about eradicating fossil fuels.
you raised some good points, but let's compare apples with apples. The Komati power station has come to the end of its life, as will many power stations in South Africa. At least 6 more power stations have come to the end of their life. That is why they are failing. Never mind that there is mismanagement and corruption and political meddling. All of that compounds the problem and will bring the end of the life of those power stations even closer. When we say we shouldn't be putting all of our energy into an aging coal fleet that is failing us already and that is highly polluting and that is impacting on people's lives, we are saying that we have to think about that in the context of what are the health costs of that, what are the environment costs, what are the legacy costs, what are the water costs of that relative to making better choices. The better choices in all of this, hands down, repeatedly, is a rollout, a massive national rollout of renewable energy. We are endowed with the sun's energy, the wind's energy in South Africa. But the political climate is sticking to this outdated model. They are propping it up and holding it up. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be allowing it to fail where it fails and putting instead our political and our economic energy into a massive renewable energy rollout. That's what we should be doing. Something that looks forward, that gives us the possibility of new jobs. We have 40% unemployment in this country, not because of renewable energies, but because of a failed economic system that doesn't create more jobs. And that failed economic system is underpinned by a failed energy system. We have to look forward. We have to move forward.
What do we do now?
The opportunity to do that.
And what do we do now while we wait for the benefit of the renewable project?
That's what we're not doing. We act now.
And as you well know, Rico, it doesn't take 24 hours for the renewable projects to be set up so that they can supplement with additional capacity on the national grid. And the acting now is happening. I think we agree here that government should have acted much earlier, because had we brought the renewable energy on stream much earlier, we would be talking now about the benefits and the additional capacity on the grid. But I'm saying right now, while we wait for the renewable energy, bid windows have been approved and projects are being set up. That power is not going to be available in the next 6 months. It's going to take some time. So what do we do in the meantime? Do we continue decommissioning the plants that government has even suggested could be extended until we have amassed enough renewables that can supplement and hold us?
But why are you asking that question? Because right now, these plants are failing by themselves. They are not being decommissioned by us. They are being decommissioned by themselves. The plants are old. The plants are failing. They've been scavenged. They've been mismanaged.
They haven't been maintained.
It's not us that is decommissioning plants. These plants are decommissioning themselves.
They haven't been maintained, which is what government is trying to do now, to ramp up that maintenance.
Kusile is a brand new power station. It's brand new, and it's failing already. And it's already cost overruns in the billions. Do we throw more good money after bad to Kusile? Or do we say, this is where the buck ends. Let's cut that off right now and let's move forward.
Rico?
Not neglecting what we already have.
Yeah.
What we already have will come to its natural conclusion. But let's not throw good money after bad.
Thank you so much for making time for us. I'm afraid we are out of time, but I appreciate you joining us for this important conversation.